Hey guys, Crave here, and let's talk about Loot RNG. Now, it's a serious and controversial topic, especially on the official forums, and while I'm not on the alpha, I do a lot of reading about Legion. Now, yet, of course, there are a lot of good things being added into the next expansion, and there are also some things that worry me. Now, from simple changes to the Water Strider mount limitations, and to possible changes to getting legendary items. One thing that really concerns me a whole lot is how loot is being handled. Now, first, let's look at how the loot system as a whole is actually in the game. Now, in a very huge way, it is what makes World of Warcraft what it is. I mean, gear progression, whether you're hardcore or casual, is integral to the game. Now, whether you gain the highest item level version of a drop, let's say in Heroic, or you get it from LFR, if it's an upgrade, then it is an upgrade. And I understand that because it gives you a satisfactory feeling, especially when that happens because you've progressed your character numerically. And of course, you also consider the look of the item, and sometimes it's just really a matter of taste whether you like that shoulder piece that drops for you, that whichever piece drops for you. And even if you don't like it, it's easily solvable. You can just go ahead and visit your friendly ethereal and get that gear mogged. Now, at the very least, in terms of getting that drop, what you're assured of is an upgrade stat-wise and how it translates to your character sheet. Now, your character is slightly more powerful, so what that means is that it really depends on whatever role you play. So you get tankier, you can heal more, your average damage delta increases, and even in PvP, you get to melt faces faster, or you don't die as fast as you used to, and yeah, that's one form of progression, and it is a significant one by itself. Now, speaking of progression, it is a major reason for most players staying in the game. It's the how do we say it? Oh, it's the carrot on the stick that basically that never-ending drive to gain more power. Now, of course, there is the concept of RNG in terms of getting your drops. Now, I don't mind it in a sense. I mean, it's been there since forever in this game, and it's also present in other games, and the scenario is very simple. You go for a raid boss or whatever. You have to go and kill something in game, and your weapon doesn't drop, your armor piece doesn't drop, your trinket doesn't drop. Yeah, it's frustrating, but that's all right. You can always try for the next lockout. Now, it gets more frustrating, especially with if it's a mount. Let's say you're farming for a mount post expansion, and yeah, it can take a number of weeks or months because RNG is RNG, and but at the very least, even with RNG, you know what you're getting. It's not like there's a chance you'll end up with a mount that has a chance to be missing a leg, an eye, or a wing. You know what you're getting, and it's only the chance for it to drop that sort of bothers you or gets you all frustrated. The RNG in terms of itemization is the bad part here, and this became extremely evident in the current expansion. Now, even when you were even in professions, and even if you were the master craftsman in your lore, or you maxed out your profession, you'd still end up with secondary stats that you didn't want or need, or basically just care for. And I find that funny because we've spent so much time becoming the masters of whatever class we play, and we even have our own class halls, and tied to it are basically the professions we have. So even if, like I said, you max out your profession, that random element is still there when you craft an item. And when you think about it, it's not fun. It just doesn't make any sense. Look at the modifications to gear, the sockets. I mean, it's not assured in drops, and they'd have to be what's that term? Oh yeah, they have to be Warforged, and even if you get that Warforged upgrade, you see it pop in the middle of the screen, those little arrows pointing upwards, and there you don't even get an assurance that you'll get a socket slot in that piece of gear. What you'll sometimes get is another secondary stat which you may not need, and what else? Bad itemization, baleful gear. It's also an example of it. You have enough, the situation sometimes is that you have enough Apex's crystals, but you don't really spend it for the upgrade token because you're baleful item, and you basically ended up with a baleful item which had secondary stats that you didn't need. And what else? It's just very random in nature. I'm trying to think of more examples. Uh, even the follower system, or the followers you have in your garrison. If you want to retrain them, there's an RNG element to it. So it's just so much randomness into it. And this whole randomness was further enforced in the current expansion via the removal of reforging. Now, what the game was saying to us is that you either had to live with what you had, or you just had to pray for RNG to favor you during your next time in trying to obtain the same item. And like I said, if it's just one aspect, like drop rates, then that's fine. But seeing more and more of this RNG in the game, it's just bad. And what's worrying right now, and even though Legion is an alpha, is that it looks like there's going to be more of it in the next expansion. Now, I'll just mention two of them quickly. That's really got my attention since they're still in alpha, and things might really change. Now, the first thing is about legendary pieces, which I mentioned quickly earlier. They're looking to be very RNG related. It is possible that legendary items will now will end up basically as drops or random drops. And these aren't just orange colored items with more stat budgets allocated to them. It's they have these Diablo type of fixes that make them make them significantly stronger. Now, I don't understand why it has to be random and Diablo-esque. I mean, World of Warcraft is its own game, and loot is a major reason for playing the game. Now, whether it's progression or just being the proud owner of a very rare and very specific item, it's important to know how to get to that item with these specific qualities. For example, I recently farmed fangs for my rogue, mainly because I just wanted to own them. I mean, it may have been pointless, but a discussion like that will just, eventually elevate onto progression being pointless in a virtual world. Now, what I'm saying is that you just basically want to experience whatever quest line was there, and that you want to own the goal of the quest line. It might be competition, having legendary items as random drops might be competition for the artifact weapons in Legion, but I just wish Blizzard wouldn't randomize legendaries. Now, another thing that adds to this whole RNG-ness of the game is the way PvP gear is being handled. Again, things can still change because it's in alpha, but it appears that the idea of strong boxes will be the thing in Legion. Now, it's where gear will be obtained that sort of worries me. So, if I'm not mistaken, rated gear from vendors will not be available, so it will be available from boxes. So again, just feel free to put down some stuff in the comments section below if that appears to be wrong. And I think the outcome of the box will be heavily influenced by the rating of your characters. So again, there's an RNG element to it. And again, a change that might be implemented, it just doesn't add up for me. So really, the RNG element just creates frustration. If there's too much of it. Now, lottery systems in a game will work for as long as it's not implemented like like a plague where it's everywhere. And while it's not the case currently, or strictly the case as of right now in Warlords, it seems Blizzard is becoming more and more open to it. And I'm hoping this direction from Blizzard will change, or maybe tweaked to sort of ease out the whole randomness of this RNG thing. And yeah, I think I talked too much, and that's really all I had. Well, it's not all I had in mind about Loot RNG, but I think you get the point. There should be more, but I think, and hopefully I conveyed that message. And yeah, so there is one more aspect so far of the game that I really don't like, but since we're still in alpha, I'm still waiting on what the devs' plans are on that other thing I haven't really talked about. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble about Loot RNG and how I feel it basically just harms World of Warcraft. I'll talk to you soon.